Hello there. This is the PETA clients live Q&A. So AKA pain in the you know what, in case your kids are listening. And it's one of those problems of success. So one of the biggest hurdles in starting a web design business is actually like getting clients. So congratulations if you're experiencing PETA clients. That means you're winning. You are in a good place. You have clients, but we don't want them taking over everything, right? So you started your business for freedom, flexibility, financial independence, and we didn't do it to recreate a job that we hated or anything like that. So I always say that PETA clients are a problem of success because once you have clients, they reveal all of the weak spots in your business, the expense mindset, the employee mindset, the imposter syndrome, the people pleasing, the perfectionism, wanting to be the hero and save the day at your own expense. And ask me how I know because I've experienced all of these, especially the wanting to be the hero at my own expense or just not like leaving a problem unsolved. So those are one of the things that happens like once you start getting clients, all the cracks in your master plan are revealed. And you look up one day and you find that you recreated a lot of the same dynamics of maybe the day job that you left, or you created the dynamics of a day job you never wanted in in the first place. And so for those of you who are here with me live, drop an emoji in the chat if any of that resonates with you. And so the way I see people try to solve the discomfort of dealing with difficult clients is by trying to prevent getting them in the first place, which I have absolutely done where I'm like, let me just like build the walls in my business so high and then build a moat around it and then put some barbed wire at the top. And if you can get through all of that, then we'll work together. Right. So that's one way that we don't realize that we try to solve the problem of dealing with difficult clients. Rebranding, changing niches, changing project management systems, changing offers, changing business models, burning your business down or starting over. I'm sure I'm not the only one. We have all done that. Yeah, at least like not the moat. I've definitely done that. Yeah, I used to talk about how I built an American Ninja Warrior course. And if you got through the course, cool, we can work together. But all of that effort and energy and like time, it compounds and it affects your revenue, your income, your inflow. And so the real solution and the shortcut, quite frankly, is building the skill to handle any difficult or unexpected client situation. And PETA clients are a huge time and money leak in your web design business. And I'm so glad you're here or you're listening to this on the replay because we're going to fix that today. So, like I said, we have some pre-submitted questions from people who submitted a question when they registered for this. If you are here and you have a question that you want to get answered, you have a real tricky, sticky client situation that you want to talk through, please use this time to ask it. I also understand that you might not want to come on camera and talk. That's okay. You can post your question in the chat and I'll ask you, like, do you want to come on camera? You can just be like, nope, I will ask you the questions that I need to ask you to answer your question in the chat. We can communicate in the chat. If you want to come on camera or you want to unmute, totally fine too. That's how we run our Web Designer Academy coaching calls inside our program. Come as you are, interact how you want to interact. I also know that sometimes when you have a question, at least this happens to me, when I'm on a coaching call or even in any kind of group and I want to like ask a question, I get completely flushed. My face turns red. My hands start to sweat. I get really nervous and my heart starts pounding. And it's for two reasons. One, everyone's going to be looking at me. But two, it's because like maybe I'm afraid to hear what I'm about to hear subconsciously, or my nervous system is like, uh-oh, if you ask this question and you get an answer, now you're going to have to do something different. And that feels a little bit scary. Can anybody resonate with that at all? Drop a one in the chat if you resonate with that at all? Yes. Okay. So just know that this is just information. You can walk away from this call and not implement the advice that I share with you. And I just want you to also know that my job, especially when I'm your coach inside of the Web Designer Academy, is to find a way for you that advice feels safe for you to implement. And that is different for every single person. So, what might feel good for Jennifer to do may not feel good for Alyssa to do. And we get to know you as individuals and we help customize that advice to you inside of our program. So, speaking of the Web Designer Academy, I normally do this at the end of our calls, but if the conversations that we have today feel like they've been the missing piece for you, if you're like, I'd really love to just be able to come to a call like this every single week, ask Shannon these questions anytime I need to. I'd love to just have strategies for all of this at my fingertips and be able to just talk to someone about what's going on and get help and not let it go on for so long and not just one time with one client, but as many times as I need to as the situation unfolds. I'd love to be in a room with other women who have questions like this too. I'd love for it to stop feeling like it's all on me to figure out or like I'm doing everything wrong. I'd love for it to just feel easier. Then you're a perfect fit for our Web Designer Academy program. So, yes, we help you book projects at 2 to 5 times more than what you're charging now. That's fine and good. I'm sure you all have heard about that if you've been following me for any period of time. We want you well compensated for the value that you bring and that you help your clients create. You're allowed to make money. That's all the shiny part of the marketing content that we put out there in a lot of our workshops. But it's after you've got the clients where the Web Designer Academy makes the biggest difference for our students. And it's why they literally say it's life changing. And it's where most programs fall off. Like they're all about helping you get clients or build websites or build systems and processes. But after that, you're on your own. And we don't want you stressed out, chained to your laptop, feeling guilty or resentful, or always worried about clients being upset with you or disappointed with you, or worried about your reputation and like ruining it and all of that stuff. We want you feeling happy and fulfilled and proud and in control. And like the money that you're making is worth it and not like it's not worth it. And that's why the Web Designer Academy is a year-long program. We support you through an entire year's life cycle of your business where seasons change, life happens, things ebb and flow, clients go sideways on you, and you learn how to manage all of it. And so the Web Designer Academy is really perfect for you if you're in this messy middle space where you're like getting clients, but every time you get to the end of a project, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to ever work with someone like that again, or I wish I would have charged way more. And we're going to talk about a lot of the nitty gritty PETA clients stuff today. But I just wanted to let you know about the Web Designer Academy. And if, like I said, if this feels like what's been missing for you, there are a few different options for us to work together that are new for 2026. So I'm going to drop a couple links to those in the chat for you to, check out while you're listening in on this call. And after I send this over, after we end this call, I'll send over the replay with these options for you. So you can book a call with me to talk about your situation. You can schedule a program tour to check out the Web Designer Academy. Or if you've been hanging out on the sidelines and you're finally ready, see some names in here, we can talk more about what it looks like to work together. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive in to our pre submitted questions. If you did not pre submit, you can go ahead and put questions in the chat. So, I definitely see a couple of those in there. So, we'll get to those as well. But I'm going to kick us off with a question from Sophia. So, Sophia says, I'm really struggling with scope creep. And also, when working with other designers, feeling like I'm not good enough and that I just keep making mistakes because it's usually not because my work sucks, but because there's a miscommunication and a lack of alignment. And I'm very frustrated with this because I genuinely worry I won't be able to close clients. Does that resonate with anyone else here? Drop a 2 in the chat if Sophia's question resonates with you. Yeah. Yeah. So, Sophia, you're not alone. Lots of 2s in the chat. Jennifer, Justine, Megan, Sarah, Ali. So, you're not alone. Just want you to know that. And so, when it comes to scope creep, which I typically define as, we agreed upon this, this project scope, and now my client's getting so excited and they're like, oh, but wait, I want to do this and I want to do this and we should add this. And while we're in here, let's do this. And then their eyes just get like so much bigger than their wallet sometimes, right? And so there's a couple things going on with scope creep, but my favorite scope creep shutter downer sentence, is that a word? Scope creep shutter downer is, yeah, I'd love to do that for you. Here's how much time it'll add to our project. And would you like me to give you an estimate for how much more that's going to cost? And so a lot of times clients are just asking for things and they're not even like really thinking like, oh, that would or wouldn't be included. Inside of the Web Designer Academy, our whole entire proposal process sets you up to have the scope creep conversation before the project even starts. So we teach you how to set boundaries with the project in a different way than probably you've ever been taught to do that, by like having your clients choose what they are not choose the scope that they're like not getting, for lack of a better way to describe that. But yeah, when clients start to ask for more and more and more, I'm just going to assume that, of course, they know it's going to cost more. Of course, they know it's going to take more time. And I always just say, yeah, we'd love to add that brand new functionality for you. Here's how it's going to affect the project timeline. Or I won't even say that like that. I'll be like, would you like me to put together an estimate for you and let you know how this is going to affect the timeline? The sky is blue. Like, of course, you're going to pay me more for this. Right. So that's one of my favorite ways to handle scope creep, but it takes practice because you're probably like really afraid that when you say that, the client's going to get mad at you and be like, how dare you tell me that this is going to cost more? I expect that this was included. And our fear of disappointing a client or angering a client or being seen as unprofessional or whatever your particular fear flavor is comes up, and then you're just like, "Ah, it's just easier for me to just do this. It won't take very long. I'll just get it done and then I don't have to deal with this difficult conversation." Anybody resonate with that at all? Like, yes. Sarah's like, yes. So we avoid discomfort at our own expense. So the 15 minutes of discomfort of having that conversation versus the 8 extra hours that I'm working and I'm not charging for it and I'm not getting paid for it, that I could have like landed another $10,000 project in that time. So I always talk about like there's self-protective behaviors that we do that make perfect sense, but they come at a really high cost. And those are the things that we help you like dismantle inside of the Web Designer Academy. So magic words for your scope creep. For all my people pleasers out there who love to say yes to everything, say yes. It's easy. You're like, I get to say yes. That feels good. But it gets to be followed up by, would you like me to send you a quote for that? And then if the conversation goes however it goes from there, probably depends on how you set the project up in the first place. And so if you have a very specific client situation that you're like, I'm afraid of what they will say next and you want to talk through it, let's talk through it while you're here, because I'd love for you to leave this feeling like you know how to handle that. So, and Sophia, I don't think she's here with us live, but she said, when working with other designers, I feel like I'm not good enough and just keep making mistakes because there's a miscommunication and a lack of alignment, and I'm frustrated. I think also one of my favorite sentences in that situation, sometimes it's like, we do need to hop on a call and have a discussion. Or it's like a, help me understand what you mean when you say X. Like, I think of, and it's just getting super neutral about it because what we end up doing is like we fill in the gaps with stories. We're like, well, this must be happening this way because I'm not good enough, or they think XYZ. And I always say in the Web Designer Academy, like, if you're going to tell stories, tell good ones. Like, and also because we don't know one way or another if they're thinking something bad about you or not. So why would we just make an assumption that they're um, thinking something bad about you? But the miscommunication piece and lack of alignment, sometimes we just have to like get in a room with someone and have a conversation and get on the same page about things. Like a lot can be left to interpretation over email. And when you take the lead and you're like, hey, can we hop on a call so that I can get really clear on what the expectations are and close the gap between what you're expecting and what I'm delivering? Like when you communicate like that and you're in integrity around it, like that's going to go so much farther than just trying to sit back and figure out what someone wants. Um Justine said I feel like I want my project proposal to do all the work, but people don't read. People don't read. They don't. They do not read. And so it's our job to put the proposal in front of them and then remind them over and over and over again of what they agreed to in the proposal. That's why our package matrix strategy that we teach in the Web Designer Academy, I always talk about it publicly as like, oh, it's this tool to help you charge more. It's this tool to help you charge 3 to 5 times more than what you're charging. But it's also this tool that helps you on the back end once you've booked the project to be able to refer to over and over and over again to be like, yeah, I'd love to do that for you. When we decided to work together, you declined all of those things that you're asking me for right now. Would you like to add them back in? And then they're like, yeah, I do. Let me pay you for that. Or they're like, you know what? No, it's not that important. So part of dealing with difficult clients is also just being willing to remind them over and over again. Just assume when they're asking for something out of scope that they don't know it's out of scope. And another one of our favorite terms is like, the sky is blue. It is a fact that this is out of scope. And I don't even like to say it's out of scope. Like, we don't use negative language in any of our communications with our clients in the Web Designer Academy. We're like, I don't even say, no, you can't have that. It's out of scope. Or no, I won't do that. It's out of scope. All of our scripts are based around here's what we agreed to. Here are your options. How would you like to move forward? Because it doesn't feel good to constantly be like, no, you can't have that. I said, no. Why are you still asking? It feels like you're a punitive parent talking to a toddler. And I'm pretty sure that's not what any of us want to spend our days doing with grown adults. So, great question. So next up, we have Tiffany, who says, I have a client who's super nice. I consider them a friend, but with their website, they often tell me how I need to design. For example, telling me how I should have all the typography kerning or how the website should scroll, then sending me complicated JavaScript centered websites that are way above what we agreed upon. I am always open to design feedback, but often their design suggestions are misguided and I really don't like having to constantly redirect. So, how do you manage a client like this? Tiffany, are you here? And do you want to talk? You're here. Awesome. So you are welcome to unmute. You can also just go through the chat, but tell me more about like a misguided design suggestion example. Yeah, cool. Your mic's not working, but we can chat. All good. Like, what's an example of a misguided design suggestion? And while you're typing that in, you just have to let people know the cost of what they're asking for. To be like, Sure, I can absolutely add this complicated JavaScript for you. I'm going to estimate that that's about a half day's worth of work. It's going to add $1,000 to our project and delay our timeline by a week. Would you like me to go ahead and get started coding that for you? Or would you like me to go ahead and start finding a contractor to outsource that? That could delay us by a couple more weeks. Like, tell the truth. And so there's this thing that happens that I don't know why we think that we have to say yes to every little extra thing, but it's that employee mindset that happens. It's like, oh, we've been hired to do a job. I'm an employee. You're my boss. You dictate to me everything that I'm supposed to do. And if I don't meet all of your expectations, now my financial security is at risk because you're the one in control of all of this. And so I have to sit back and like figure out a way to manage you to keep myself safe. And so this is like a dynamic that as the owner of your own business that you get to like remember who you are. And it's a total shift when you were raised to be an employee and conditioned by our society to be an employee that you're not the one running the show. Like you're the one running the show. So she said they send me heavy JavaScript sites that are an immersive experience on a 2 week deadline. But I have more examples, but that's one that stressed me out. And so that's kind of like some of your language there showing me how you're thinking. You're like, "They send me a heavy JavaScript website and gave me a 2 week deadline." I know this might sound like a shock to all of you, but your clients can't give you deadlines. It's your business, and you get to decide whether or not you can turn something around like that in that kind of a time. So, like, if I'm in this situation, one, probably I think what you're saying is like, actually, this heavy JavaScript immersive experience isn't even like going to add to this project. Like it's not the right fit for what we're doing here. So one is like standing in your expertise to say, yeah, that looks freaking amazing and super fun for this thing. But for what we're building for this use case for our client, I don't see this as necessary. And it's also could have the opposite effect of what we're trying to go for. So my professional recommendation is that we stick to our original plan. However, it's really important for you for us to do that, it's just not going to be possible for us to do that in a 2 week timeline. So I'm happy to research that for you, figure out what the additional cost is going to be and let you know how that's going to affect our overall project timeline and when I could potentially get that done. Would you like me to move forward with that? And that is also that little magic question at the end. Would you like me to move forward with that? I'm giving you options that I'm okay with. I'm the business owner. You're my client, but you're not my boss and I'm not your employee. And I'm going to always think about, okay, like what's in your best interest as my client, but also what's in my best interest as the business owner. And I'm no longer doing things at my own expense to avoid difficult situations, which, as I say that, please know this takes time to change. So when we work with people who come into the Web Designer Academy, a lot of people come in thinking like, I'm just going to ignore the mess in the closet, right? It makes me think of that episode of Friends where they discover Monica's closet and it's just like a mess. It's like packed and it's like her dirty secret that she has this big, messy closet. And so we have women coming into the Web Designer Academy and they're like, I have this closet full of client disasters. I'm just going to like ignore that over here and I'm going to start fresh with paid discovery and package matrix and systems and processes and boundaries. And I'm just going to like implement that all on my new clients. And I'm just going to like deal with all of my low paying PETA clients over here. And eventually I'll have replaced all of my PETA clients with these delightful new clients that I brought in with these systems and processes. And I love that for you, but then also, like, within the first 30 days, then we're like, "You know what? If we just cleaned up, like, 25% of this closet, you're gonna get, like, 50% of your time back and have so much more energy and capacity to deal with the rest of them and bring on the new clients in the new way." So, yes, Jennifer's like, "I'm just gonna invite you into my closet." That's what we do in the Web Designer Academy is we help you clean up the closet. There's so much time and money sitting on the table there for you to pick up and cleaning up these situations just by creating some safety around it. Like I said, I do not expect you to just suddenly be like, have the confidence to like go have these conversations, but you do have to remember it is your business. And you get to tell your clients you're an expert. You do know better than they do. They might like something or want something to look a certain way, but you have your reasons why you designed it a certain way. Like, stand behind it, but also, like, come up with options that you're willing to give them. And none of those options is you working for free to make them happy. So, yeah, exactly. Sarah said, "Thank you for this. A lot of my issues also stem from clients telling me what they want and coming up with their own designs and trusting, instead of listening to me and trusting me." Yeah, so it's just having a conversation about, like, what is the customer experience, like, going back to what you know, like, we designed this for a reason because of the customer experience, and I understand why you would wanna see this, but let's put ourselves in the shoes of your client, and in my expert opinion, and then it's probably making a lot of you wanna throw up when I say the word expert, but in my expert opinion, like, I recommend we do this, but it's your choice. And then you allow them to make the choice, and there's a cost attached to the choice that wasn't already agreed upon. So, great question. Next up is Rosie, who says, "What is the best way to shift the dynamic with a micromanager so that they trust my professional judgment instead of questioning my every move?" Are you here, Rosie? I don't know if you are here with us, but one, and all of their own stuff comes up. And so 9 times out of 10, their micromanageriness is not about you. It's about them, and it's, like, almost a fear response that they're having from, like, taking this bold step to take on this project or do this thing or make this big change. And so just having a little bit of, like, empathy for what they're going through and why they might be micromanaging is just one thing to consider, and to not assume that they don't trust you and that they're questioning your every move, right? Because that like puts that, just the assumption that they must be micromanaging me because they don't trust me. I would question that assumption, right? There are many other reasons why a client might be micromanaging you. They might be a total control freak and they might be micromanaging you, but also it could be that they just took on a big risk and their nervous system is reacting in a way that's not helpful. So just being curious and open as to why that might be happening. The other thing is that if, like, there it sounds like, and without you being here, I can't like really dig into the dynamics of it or the way that it's going down. But it kind of sounds like there's some communication boundaries that maybe were not set. Like when I hear micromanage, I'm hearing like, this client is emailing me at all hours of the day and night with change after change after change. Maybe they're getting into like looking at things before I've even said that they're ready, and they're giving me feedback on unfinished projects or unfinished pieces and parts. Has this happened to anyone here? Like, ask me how I know. They are, uh, yeah, they're just like asking about like, not asking about things that like it's not time for that yet, but they're like putting the cart before the horse in a lot of situations. And so again, it is a lot of redirecting, but it's like kind redirecting, and it like when you don't make it about you, that like, oh, they must think I'm doing something wrong, the annoyance level drops down, the frustration level drops down. But then there's also the opportunity to set some communication boundaries, right? To be like, I always say this, you can message me anytime you want. Like, feel free to, or email. I'm always like, you can email me anytime you want. I'm going to respond during my regular business hours. If someone like texts me or DMs me or side of my working, I will respond during from our normal communication protocol when I'm working, when it's time for me to respond. So like let's say they DM me on a Friday night with something all micromanagery. When I'm back online Monday morning at like 10 a.m., I'll email and be like, hey, saw your text come through on Friday. Just following up here. Like I just don't allow clients to drive, if that makes sense. So sometimes like the answer isn't getting them to trust you. The answer is to just continue operating in integrity and redirecting them. So if you were here, I would definitely like dig deeper and ask you some more questions about exactly what's going on. And we would like put a specific plan together for you and this client. And that's the kind of stuff we do inside of the Web Designer Academy with you too. And I always tell people like, okay, I'm going to give you this plan and then you're going to go do the thing and then come back and let me know what happened. And we'll talk about like what to do, like what the next steps are, depending on how they respond. So we really do hold your hand through difficult client situations. We have another question. So Coleman, I'm going to answer your question and then Jennifer, we're going to move on to you and then I'll go through the rest of the questions in the chat. So if you have a sticky client situation you want some help with, go ahead and post that in the chat. So Coleman said, most of my issues involve clients not sending graphics, images, etc. in a timely manner. And by the time they do, they have changed direction and they end up redoing. And I end up redoing what I already created. So I know a lot of you are like, yeah. So another, so one, just giving content deadlines at the start is a must. If you didn't give a content deadline at the start or the client is ignoring your content deadline, then it's a matter of reaching out and being like, hey, I need this content from you by this date. If I don't receive it by this date, your project is going to get moved to the end of my development schedule or some date far in the future that's going to force them to actually prioritize getting stuff to you. Because what's happening is that like other things have taken priority for them. You're not a priority. The website's not really a priority. So they're just like, I'm just going to do all these other things and then they'll get back around to it. You have to do something to make them make it a priority. And typically that something is a consequence that they're not going to like, which is having to wait longer than maybe they want to. And for you, yeah, you don't want to wait either. You want to get this done. But the fact of the matter is, it's not getting done. They're not responding. So you get to actually just put this option in front of them and then put it out of your mind if they choose to not move forward. We're still going to collect payment though. We get to untie your payment to deliverables, especially when the client isn't moving forward with their end of the deal. So it's like, hey, client, just a reminder, all of your stuff's due Friday. I haven't received anything from you. Will you be giving me your stuff on Friday? Friday comes, you haven't heard from them. Hey, client, it's Friday. Haven't gotten your stuff together. You haven't gotten me your stuff. As long as I have that in my inbox by Monday, we can make our original project plan. If I don't, you're going to be moved to the end of my queue and it's going to be May before I can work on your project. You just like let them know what's going to happen, like the sky is blue. And then you can say, and if anything has changed, and you wouldn't say this now, but then like when they pick back up and they're like, oh, had some new ideas. I'm not going to do that anymore. Great. Let's talk about that. And we can look at how that changes the scope of what we originally agreed upon. Because I already delivered the logo and all of this. And that's not a revision. That's a complete redesign. I can scope out what a complete redesign is going to cost. And then you can let me know if you want to move forward with that. I'm literally just stating all of this stuff as if the sky is blue, and I'm not telling them like, "No, that's not included. No, bad, wrong." Like, I'm just saying, "Okay, this is where we're at. This is what we're how we're gonna do it." So, yeah, it's just setting very clear deadlines, and not just deadlines, but like, "And if you don't meet that deadline, sky is blue. Here's what's gonna happen." And then you being willing to hold to it in the of allowing your client to sit in the consequence of what they've done, and also learning the skill and nuance of creating options that you're okay with when like whatever the client chooses, you're okay with. That's definitely something to practice. Emily said, "Hey, that website that was supposed to be finished 6 months ago, I finally have my new text for you to update. But while you're at it, XYZ, and can you migrate my site? Because I changed hosts, blah, 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 blah." Again, yeah, I'd love to do that for you. That's going to be at least an additional day's worth of work and about $1,000. Would you like to move forward with that? I'll send you over an invoice and we can get that scheduled. And then the reason why that scares the crap out of you to do that, that's where our real work is. We have to create some safety for you around that. Jennifer asks, I have a 10 plus year long client relationship and recently the primary contact left. I was finally able to voice concerns to who's maybe now my primary contact. I explained that I need to give a new proposal for services. He's going to discuss what they want with another team member and come back to me with the list. So that should be interesting. I do plan to package matrix it. So Jennifer's in the Web Designer Academy, by the way. So she's using our proposal tool to set all of these boundaries. She says, I'm not sure what that will look like since we are essentially their marketing department. We'll work on that with you inside the program. But you said, I'm worried that I put my foot down too much or complained too much during our conversation. I don't want to lose them, but I also don't want to be walked all over anymore. Can anyone relate to I don't wanna lose them, but I don't wanna be walked all over anymore? Drop your favorite emoji in the chat if you resonate with that. I hear the passion in your voice for the relationship and for the company, and I think the other thing to bring to this conversation is your passion for their success, and I think when you put together the new package matrix for them and you lead them through that. Like you said, you don't need to pay discovery to figure out what their needs are. You know what they are. When you present that to them, bring that passion of like, this isn't you you had your moment of frustration where you're like, the dynamics of how this work is going is not okay. We need to be paid and whatever. That's he heard you. I don't
Yeah, he
think that
did.
you need to, like, beat yourself up about saying that or worry that you complain too much. The air is cleared. Now it's time to shift into, "Here's what we can create for you when we work together as a team. Here's what's possible for you," focusing on the outcomes and the results and all of the things. The relationship needs some new life breathed into it, and then, like you said, like, you're gonna build the boundaries in that weren't there before so that as this progresses, they'll either continue or they won't, and they'll either follow the new boundaries or they won't, but you'll have a new language to guide them through that, and you'll have a clear out if it's not working. You're actually the boss of the client,
Yeah,
and that's the
yeah,
biggest shift, and it does take a big, um and we're not bosses, we're not their boss, but we do lead
mhm,
them, and we're on the level with them, and that's one of the biggest challenges that I think a lot of us face is like realizing that and then there's like this whole wave of like I don't want to be responsible for all that. And then that messes with like things too. So it's just that's I mean, that's the work we do inside the program is like untying all of that because the what happens then is that we're like, well, if I don't charge that much, then then the responsibility is not so high. And here I am undercharging and over delivering.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Great question. So Megan put in the chat, here's my vision and how I want to go about it. Client at first meeting. Email to ask for content about 1 million times. I hear nothing. They finally tell me to just use AI to write the content and do some images from them. I designed based off our initial meetings. write using AI, tell them I've done 2 pages. Can they look over it? They take forever, get back to me and say, you made it exactly the vision I had then, but I don't like it now that I see it. I make it the way we want. Send the second time. Now again, crickets over and over. So yeah, like this situation, um, this is like a more of a systems and processes. Not more of. This is a systems and processes opportunity in terms of how and when you're communicating with the client to get this feedback, and like when you're having them like sign off on certain stages of the process. But then it's also very much like yeah, I can absolutely create all the content for you based on AI. That's going to add an additional week and an additional $2,500 to this project. Would you like me to move forward with that for you? So, I mean, I know it's like, oh, it's AI, it's fast, it's whatever, but like there's still discernment. Does it align with the strategy? Is what this is giving me accurate? How am I going to take this content and like fit it into the website? Just all of those things. So with a with something like this where it like initially like they start to they take forever to get back to you, like there's several levers that we could pull in that situation to bring a project like back on track. But also, sometimes it's just like, okay, they're not getting content to me. We need to set up a call, and I'm going to have a captive audience, and I'm going to like pull it out of them. Like, be like, hey, we need to get this done. We're going to set up a call this Tuesday at 2 p.m. and I'm going to ask you all the questions, and I'm going to get everything I need to keep this moving forward. If you can't, then you're going to get moved to the back of the line, but the payment schedule continues as originally agreed to. So, and then Megan said, kind of similar to this, we have many clients who don't have any idea what they want the site to look like. So I have zero direction from them on where to go. Luckily, they've been happy, but I'm always worried that they're not going to like it. Fear of feedback is a big thing we deal with inside of the Web Designer Academy, too. And so, like, how do you communicate with clients about design, and like when you have those conversations and when you show them things and what types of questions you ask them when it's time for feedback, so that kind of back to the scope creep conversation, we have this whole like revision do's and don'ts protocol of like, don't just send it to the client and be like, well, let me know what you think. Do be very specific about the feedback you're asking for, and be silent on the things that you're not asking for feedback on. And I always tell like vendors that I'm working with, like for people that I hire to do projects for me, they'll be like, let me know if you have any feedback. And I'm like, I'll have an opinion on anything you want me to have an opinion on. Or any, like, if you don't tell me, I could just go through and like give my opinion on all of it. But like, I want you to tell me, like, only need your feedback on this thing. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, that's a relief to me, because then I'm like, I trust that you've made all the decisions in my best interest. And you really do need my feedback on this thing because you're missing information. So that's another thing that we teach inside of the program is like, how do you lead these projects so that there are like these checkpoints along the way. Let's see. Justine says, I have difficulty when clients want to change direction. I have client calls, have mood boards, approved color inspo, and then it seems like they pull a 180 after seeing it all together. How do I stay on course or gracefully course correct? Yeah, you're like, okay, I totally hear what you're saying. So here are our options. If you want me to redesign a mood board, I can absolutely start over. And that's going to add this much time to our project. And would you like me to put together a quote for that? And being really clear about like what's a revision and what's not up front can help you have that conversation better. Stacy asks, how do you know what the content will be until after design? It seems that my design process will dictate layouts and which sections of content will be used, or do others use a more standard format and therefore know the amount and length of content beforehand? Everybody does it so differently, Stacy, but like whatever your process is, you like set up the phases and then figure out like what needs to be done and when, and get all of set all of those deadlines. Megan said, I think the crickets thing has been the biggest issue with this client. Yeah. So when a client is ghosting you, following up is huge, like annoyingly so. But it's like, oh, hey, like I haven't heard from you. If I don't hear from you by X with feedback, here's the consequence. I'll be tabling your project until such and such time that it's going to be really painful for them to pick back up. And inside the Web Designer Academy, we help you figure out like the exact words that you want to say to this specific client in this specific situation. So I'm kind of generalizing here, but yeah, this is the type of stuff that we help our students with all of the time. And like, it's not always just like the what to do, it's the okay, but once I do that, then what if this happens? And what if this happens? And it's like helping you create some safety for your nervous system to take the action. And then also helping you figure out like what actions to take in what situations. Plus, we have tons of systems, processes, and strategies for preventing P to client situations in the first place. So, like I said, these are the types of things that we do inside of the Web Designer Academy, in addition to packaging, pricing, sales, and all of those things. So we help you through all of it. And if you're interested in learning more about what it looks like to work with us, I'm putting a few links in the chat. The first link is to our Web Designer Academy program page, and that has all of the details about the program, what's included, options for working together. And then I'm also popping in a link to book a call with me if you want to discuss what it would look like for us to work together and talk about which one of our options might be the best fit for you. And then also, we have a program tour that we do every week, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. You can come sit in on one of our live strategy calls and hear real questions from our real members and then meet them, see what it's really like in there, and then hang out with me afterwards and I'll walk you through the program and answer all of your questions. So that's it for our PETA client live Q&A. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for coming, for your questions, which were a gift to everybody here. And I would be so excited to officially meet you all, chat with you on a call, see how we can help. So I will look forward to seeing you all later. I just put those links in the chat and I'll follow up with the replay with those as well. So thank you so much. You're welcome, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.